also, Brock Lesnar is now the highest, or he's earned the most on a card than anyone.
You gotta wonder, if... I mean, I would imagine, Dana White is happy because of the amount of money he went off and, UFC's made off this.
Dude just walked out with a paycheck.
Yeah, Brock,
No. Dana White just walked out.
But you gotta wonder, how many people at UFC were kind of frustrated that, Brock Lesnar, who, may not fight again in the octagon.
He's announced he might be coming back.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to say that.
You have to say that, and I appreciate that. But, I mean, you got to wonder a little bit just how frustrated some of this is, where a guy who's not necessarily... he's been now a bit of an outsider, comes and goes off and beats a guy. Mind you, Mark Hunt was only the number 8 ranked heavyweight in the division. But he came in...
Brock Lesnar's now ranked number 10.
Now ranked number 10. But Lesnar went off and came in, beat this guy who, Vegas had went off and, put the odds on strongly to beat Lesnar. And not only this, but WWE got to advertise their biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam,
which they
plus a video game.
They've also failed to capitalize on this. And there's other news I have to bring up after this, just before we, end our show.
It just, it seems like all this stuff, I mean, the big winner out of all this may not necessarily be UFC or, Brock Lesnar. It might be WWE because they went off and they got a lot. I mean, if Brock Lesnar had went off and lost, then everything else that, they had, part of the show up to that point would have been a moot point.
Everything that's happened in UFC 200 is officially null and void. Any heartbreak, upsetness doesn't matter anymore. The lost paychecks, things like that. As of today, UFC has been sold for $4 billion. So Dana White, who had 9% of shares, has walked out with a lot of money, but he is remaining as president of UFC.
That's big news. I mean,
very big news as of today. I had to bring that up just because of how big this weekend is with UFC. This is even bigger news, considering they paid $9 million back in 2001 for this, for a league that was banned in almost every single state, that is now legal in every single state, and will be back in New York for 205 for the first time ever.
Wow.
So big things. Now they are sold. It's big news. Dell Computers, the guy behind them, is now a shareholder.
Oh wow.
He's one of the top investors. So look for a lot of UFC deals probably coming to Dell owners. Don't quote me on that, but you can see it coming.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. There might be something there. Dude, we gotta get a Dell.
Yeah, no, I had to plug that just because of how big that news is today. My phone's been blowing up with that. I am your sports guy, so it's kind of my thing.
So I think before we wrap this half of the show up, maybe we need to talk about a certain game that seems to be crazy.
Yes, Pokemon Go. If you go back to one of our previous shows, way back, we first commented on this game coming out, and we weren't sure how it was going to go. I have been testing it. Now, it's not all it's cracked up to be. There are obvious flaws. It's not released everywhere. I can't say, for sure. But there are ways, there are ways. I don't fully recommend it due to the fact of the servers can't handle as many people as there are right now. But I have to say this, and I don't mean this in a very critical way, but if they can't handle the amount of users that are on it currently, how the hell did they expect to be able to handle this game fully released?
And, I mean, that's the big question here, because, I mean, when we first talked about this game, it was last fall.
Yes,
and at that point,
they constantly pushed it back.
Because I think originally the plan was to bring it out in January.
Yes, it was, and then they pushed it back due to, I believe it was computing or coding issues. And from my experience with the game and the many flaws, constant server downings, freezing, confusion, things like that, I can understand. Like, this is a game that is one of a kind. Like, it's never been thought of, never been done. Nintendo has never, ever delved into something as huge as this. But you gotta wonder, are they in too far?
I guess that is kind of the big question in all of this. One of the big, who knows? I mean, right now, my wife had actually sent me a message earlier today stating that they have pushed back, moving, Pokemon Go into any other country right now. So still, the only countries that, Pokemon Go are available are the United States, Japan, and Australia.
No, I have to say this, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. I don't know if there's actually any nice way to say this. For a company like this that is used to, a system that they have, the Nintendo, the DS, things like that, you would think they would have proper networking, proper, communications, proper, technicians, that they should be able to push this onto the phone to a complete market instead of country by country, and not prepare for the amount of people that really want this game from other countries that will find ways to get it.
Well, when I heard about this, it sort of reminded me, there was this service that you could, sign up for over the internet called Blast Off. And it went off, it had content, it had Facebook, it had YouTube, it had Hulu, and many other things. And there was a group called Legal Shield that was part of it. And they were amongst the first people to go off and be able to sign up for this. On the day the Blast Off went off and started up, their servers all crashed because of the number of people that went off and tried to all log on. And Blast Off became, just an afterthought. If you talk to most people now, they have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. I happen to know because I am a Legal Shield member, so I do remember this stuff. I remember, trying to hype this up a lot, and it turned out to be for nothing. So that's what this kind of reminds me of. It reminds me, they went off and they tried to hype this up so much, so badly, and then they just weren't prepared for this.
No, and they should have, expected that people from other countries, with how big Pokemon is, like Pokemon, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't matter whether, you're a young kid or you're a, overgrown adult now. Pokemon has always been that huge part of your life. It's bred into you. I was 7 when it first came out. I am now 27. That's 20 freaking years. I am still obsessed with Pokemon. I will be until the day I'm 90 or dead or whatever. So the ways for people to get these games, are out there. They should have been prepared for this. It should have been, okay, we don't release it to one country. We release it to all. Let's, work on this. Let's get it ready to release it, worldwide, not just country by country.
And I think part of the reason was they probably wouldn't have been prepared if they weren't prepared to do it, in, like big markets like Japan and the United States, I can't imagine what it would have been like if they had released this worldwide. Well, I don't blame them for doing this, because, this isn't the first time that we've seen stuff where you could get, stuff in, the United States or in Japan before. In many cases, video games start in Japan, and we don't get to see them here in Canada,
it's really,
the United States, for like 2 or 3 years.
It's really rare for a phone app, especially of this caliber, to have it released the way it is. And especially, where they're putting out, warnings of, if they catch people, and I hate to use this word because I don't necessarily agree with this word, but illegally, obtaining this game will be banned and all that. I don't classify as illegal because A, you're not buying it. They're not selling these games, so you can't actually illegally get it. 2. I think I said A and then 2, but whatever. This game will be released, so technically you're actually not stealing it. You're not obtaining any wealth from it. You're not, any of that stuff. You're merely trying to get a game that you are, being delayed on getting. They released it in the States. Now, there was already excessive bugs before it came to the States, so why wait until now to push it back? Now, the other thing I have wrong with this whole situation is you have a lot of these fans that are rushing to get this game, that have got the game. There's all these bugs, and more bugs than I've seen in any game. And that says a lot, considering, I am a video game fanatic. And then you add in the whole threats of banning and, all this stuff. Are you going to be able to maintain your fan base for a prolonged amount of time and make money off this? I just don't see the feasibility of these threats and these, all this stuff.
My biggest concern is that by the time that you can, quote unquote, legally play this game, outside of the United States, Japan, and Australia, how much interest is there going to be in these games in those big markets? So is it possible that this craze is going to slow down in down in the United States by the time it's gets here in Canada? And let's face it, there are quite a few people in Canada who have went off and have downloaded this game. So it's not like there are ways to go off and to get this game, whether the company wants people to do it or not. I'm not one of those people. I'm more than willing to sit back and wait. My phone probably couldn't handle the game anyways.
No, and there's a lot of people blaming people like myself who rushed out to get this game, and found the ways of why it's become the way it has, why it's crashing. That keep in mind though, when they first released it in Japan, only half the people that actually went to go get a game were actually able to play it due to the excessive amount in that country alone who wanted to play the game. So if it couldn't even handle one country, and from the country that developed it, you can't really blame all of us diehard fans who rushed out to get it of why it's crashing. This was, I believe, very poor judgment, very rushed, and very unplanned of how they released this, how they pushed this out, even how they designed it. And if it wasn't properly designed, why is every detail of this game perfectly adapted for the maps in other countries?
Good question.
That's the one big question I had when I first started playing. Every gym was there, the Pokemon, were there, all this stuff. There was no, issues where you go blocks and blocks and blocks and you can't find nothing. Everything is lined up perfectly. You got all, the Pokestops, you're getting your, Pokeballs, you're getting, the gyms. There's already tons of people in control of those gyms, and I mean tons. I haven't found a single gym in this entire city that hasn't been owned. So, as far as I'm concerned, if this game wasn't meant to be in Canada or, any of these other countries, why is it already developed for them?
That's an excellent question. I think it maybe has something to do with the Google Map app, which apparently you need to have to play this.
It is possible, but I still, Google Map or not, everything is set up, where all the stuff are. If it wasn't developed for these countries, you wouldn't be able to find the Pokemon as much as you are. You wouldn't be able to find, half the Pokemon that we do. Same with all the gyms and all that stuff. It wouldn't be set up. So the programming is there. They've just faulted on something else. That's my opinion.
I can't go off and argue with that. But you know what, guys? We've actually been, between this and the other half episode, we've been now, chit-chatting for, about 50 minutes now.
That is fine.
That is fine. This is probably one of the longest episodes we've ever done, even though technically, thanks to a certain individual, this is actually turned out to be 2 separate episodes. So
blame the gremlins.
We'll blame the gremlins. We'll blame the Pokemon too. Yes. So, but you know what? It's
Nintendo's fault.
Nintendo, yeah. So guys, it's time to wrap this up. For us, it's been a really long day, but you know what? It's been fun. Once again, we want to go off and we want to thank